The version that came back. I lost 3 days in October. Not lost like misplaced. Lost like a page torn cleanly from a book. Thursday morning to Sunday evening. 67 hours that simply do not exist in my memory. The doctors called it a dissociative episode. My wife called it a breakdown. I called it a gap. A clean, featureless gap where I once was. I came back to myself standing in the kitchen. Sarah was watching me from the doorway. Not with concern exactly. With the kind of careful study you give to something you aren't quite sure about. Like she was taking inventory. She said, "Do you know what day it is?" I told her it was Thursday. She said very quietly, "It's Sunday." 3 days gone. The neurologist said, "Stress." The therapist said my mind had simply protected me from something I wasn't ready to process. They spoke in the reassuring language of people who have never lost themselves, who have never stood in their own kitchen and felt like a stranger behind their own eyes. I nodded. I took the medication. I went home. And I started to notice the differences. Small things at first. The coffee mug I always kept on the left side of the cabinet was on the right. The throw pillow on the couch, the blue one, had been moved to the other end. My desk. The papers I'd organized by project were now stacked by date. Not wrong. Just not how I do it. I told myself I had moved things before the episode, that I'd done it and forgotten. But then I found the notebook. It was in my handwriting. Every page. Same pen pressure, same left-leaning slant, same habit of writing the letter G with an extra loop at the bottom. My handwriting, unmistakably. But I had not written it, because the notebook described the 3 days I couldn't remember. In detail. In my voice. In the present tense. As though whoever held the pen was living each moment as he wrote. Someone had been in my house. Someone who wrote exactly like me. I read every page. He had eaten the meals I would have eaten. He had watched the shows I watch. He had spoken to Sarah with the same words I use. Our private words. Our shared shorthand. The small language that belongs only to us. And she had answered him the way she answers me. But there were places where something slipped. A sentence about looking at his hands and being surprised by their weight. A passage about the hallway mirror in which he'd written, "I look right, but I feel assembled." And one line near the end of Saturday, circled twice in red. She doesn't notice. They never notice. I went to Sarah. I kept my voice level. I asked her, calmly, the way you speak to someone who might become frightened if you show them how frightened you are. I asked her what I had been like those 3 days. She looked at me. That careful, inventorying look. "You were fine," she said. Tired. Quieter than usual. But fine. Was I myself? A beat. Just a half-second too long. "Of course," she said. "Who else would you be?" Who else? I don't sleep now. Not really. I lie in the dark and I try to hold on to myself. To take stock, piece by piece, of the things that make me who I am. My father's name. The smell of my childhood home. The sound of my own laugh. I repeat them like a rosary. I am still here. I am still here. But there are moments, in the in-between, in the grey space before thought fully forms, where the inventory doesn't quite add up, where something in the count is off by one, where I reach for a memory and find something smooth where a texture should be, a place that was recently accessed by hands not quite mine. I have been looking for him. I pulled 3 days of security footage from the building, grainy, overexposed. and I have been watching myself come and go. The build is right. The clothes are mine. The walk is mine even. But there is a frame, Friday evening, where the man pauses in front of the lobby mirror and tilts his head. Just slightly. The angle of curiosity you'd give to something you were studying. Not something you'd expect from a man looking at his own reflection. The neurologist says I'm fixating. The therapist says it's a dissociation response. That I'm externalizing the episode, making it easier to process by inventing another. They say the man in the footage is me. The handwriting is mine. The 3 days happened, and I was in them, and my mind simply chose to seal them off. I want to believe this. I am trying to believe this. But last night, I found a hair in the bathroom sink. Dark. The same length as mine. Except that I shaved my head 2 years ago. Someone wore my face into this house, and I'm not certain he ever left. And the worst of it, the thing I cannot say out loud, the thing I write only here, in this notebook, with the door locked and every light burning, I don't know which one of us came back. I don't know if I am the original, finally returned to a life that was tended carefully in my absence, or if I am the replacement, newly installed, slowly learning what I'm supposed to be, learning the weight of hands that were already familiar with this life before I arrived in it. I have my memories. I have my name. I have 38 years of being one man. But so did he. If you felt that cold question pressing against the bottom of your thoughts, then you already understand. The self is not a lock. It is a habit. And habits can be learned by anyone patient enough to study them. Subscribe and stay close to the dark. There are more stories waiting, and some of them may already know your name.